Hi, today we will understand what drives engagement in the niche of finance, particularly focused in the 20 BC channel by Harry Stevens. For those of you that you don't know, Harry Stevens creates content around finance, around investing, around seed startups, around growth, engineering, content. And in particular, those are the four main attributes. Intrigue, for example, Jean LeCun, why Elon is wrong about AI. The second attribute in the content is knowledgeable. For example, how AI impacts healthcare, energy, geopolitics, media, and climate change. Very knowledgeable, very comprehensible. Career, boosted revenue by 500 million at Salesforce. Innovation, how AI will change medicine, stable diffusion create. That's how that is how it's composed. Yet we have very different perform and underperform attributes. Overperforming in general is skilled, comprehensible, knowledgeable. Media, worldly, culture, history. Emotions being like intrigue, concern, fear, and life lessons and content that generates those sentiments. And underperform, curiously, is content that tends to be prosperous, lifestyle, about success, about marketing, about software, confusing, perplexing, unprecedented, joy, hope, aspiration, and entrepreneurial and startups. That is very important. That last one is extremely important because that is a core topic of the channel and is not performing as well as the others. And here we have the list of the attributes with a bit more statistics. And in general, we can derive those insights. First, expertise over uncertainty. We audience seems to appreciate when we have renowned guests that bring certainty instead of bringing confusion. Second, broad topics like cultural, more associated with politics, with governments, with broadly encompassing rather than tech, narrow focus, very niche oriented. The third insight is deep emotions over uplifting. In general, they don't necessarily go to the podcast or to the video to feel better. They crave emotion. They want to feel something. Either if it's even if it's bad, like fear or sadness or emotion, they want to feel something. And finally, content that is more personal focused than professional oriented. In general, topics that are more applicable to the everyday life rather than abstract topics from a given startup or from a final company. These are the first initial insights. We have this is the engagement chart. We in the bottom is the 1,000 videos, the last 1,000, and in the top we have the last 50 videos. And we see that the last 50 videos tend to perform above the median. So in general, the channel has a positive trend with engagement is growing. Yet there are some observations. First, virality was long ago. The two or three best performing videos were a couple years ago. Second, engagement is polarized. We have two very niches, very opposite niches. The first one being around politics, about cultural topics, and the second being around startups. Both generate engagement and it's polarized. It's not There's not a bridge between them. And finally, there's a lot of short content strategy in the channel, very good performing channel compared to its competitors. So that's a positive additional note. I want to also show the progress of the channel, in particular in the art, in the style. We see in the 2022 very professional, very just about um, the person and the interviewer, the channel, and the name prominent in it. I want to say this. Here, the titles is not about the topic. The titles is about the knowledge that the person can give. Curiously, these two were the ones that drive the most engagement. These particular covers, and Now the title seems to be a summary, but it's not. In particular, him, John Doerr, was one of the first investors in Google. He made astronomical sums of money with a relatively small amount of fundraising. And what we see here is, okay, why is this person relevant, and what is offering to about this knowledge of making this relevant? How can creating a bridge between the viewer and the person? So that would be the ideal cover set. I wanted to mention that even if it was a bit of script. Next, we have in 2023, we start to see more oriented towards the idea, more why the VC model is broken. Now we are trying to create engagement. The personalities are less important, it's more important the content. And finally, we extrapolate this even further. 7 keys to win at consumer subscriptions. Again, we are focusing on practical advice, not on what makes this person great. So the idea would be, okay, first I see who this person is and why does this makes it great. Why I want to listen to this person. It's not about a particular idea, it's about why do I want to listen to the person. And there are a few, lastly, just some last observations, some sample comments about the content. These are three very accurate, or at least relevant or informative. One, the host should watch guys like Patrick Bet David, Joe Rogan, and Theo Von get some pointers about how to interview. No? Second, should tend to ask the same questions, and it kind of makes the AI interviews stale. Just my opinion, though. Bro, you repeated questions to different speakers. It's hallucinating their answers. So the criticism goes oriented towards the interview style, and it already also gives some suggestions on where to go. And that sets us up for growth opportunities. First, these are some suggestions, and I will be first saying this, and then we will be exploring this from different angles. The first is focus on content and storytelling, emotional understanding the emotional narratives and engagement drivers. So instead of having an intellectual discussion, start creating this atmosphere of a journey. Second, define branding and position. Create an identity, merge polarized niches, and appeal to a wider audience. That is three things. So instead of, again, asking questions and listening to the interviewee, we want to create an identity around both niches that are working but are separate and opposite, but also to massage the content to make it for a wider audience. And finally, shorts. Be them trailers, not summaries. The content is working, it has high engagement, high viewership, but it lacks a clear call to action and it is not converting. So instead of creating content, instead of creating engagement, what the short does is, oh, I don't need to watch the interview because I already know what the interview is. But instead of saying this as a trailer, could drive engagement. Now, some possible niches, and this is where we are today. We are in the niche of startups. The bigger niche, as we saw in the previous comment, is interviews, and the wider niche is popular finance. So let's explore some landmark channels on, sorry for the typos on the title, but on startups, we have Y Combinator that enjoys a very similar engagement at this channel. Some content is more viral, but in general, it's the same. Patrick Boyle, that has popular finance videos, making them funny, is 10x more engaging in terms of views, weekly videos. Joe Rogan with interviews, it has 100 more approximately viewers. So we are comparing on average 10,000 versus 1 million. And the Wall Street Journal is an iconic media empire. So that could be the aspiration. That's the total addressable market. So now let's explore some growth learnings. First, content is the main driver of engagement. We saw that there's significant uh, evolution in terms of the artwork, but not necessarily in content. So there's a missed opportunity in there. Next is that we see, particularly in Joe Rogan channel, there's no short content, and edit is not necessary. In fact, viewers appreciate the authenticity of the content. So maybe again, instead of creating this perfect narrative, if this is the focus we want to go, not make it more appealing, making it more original, more authentic, more fun, less artificial, more real, more authentic. And finally, in particular from Patrick Boyle, is that sarcasm and humor popularize content that otherwise would not be as popular as finance. So maybe try to find ways how to appeal to a broader audience, even if the topics in themselves are not generally appealing. And here are some growth ideas, in particular for creating this identity of the channel and how to turn these interviews into a narrative, into a storytelling that drives first emotion and later engagement. First, focus on the founder journey, both in the history, in the emotions, in the obstacles, how they overcome the obstacles, the different things that they learn during the process. So it's almost like a historical, a chronological narrative, but deeply filled with learnings and with emotions. And there could be a separate thread. Separate thread is either both of them could work or not. That is from the investing perspective. Okay, how the startup look at seed, at pre-seed, at series A? What were the key drivers that went from A to B, to B to C, to C to D, to IPO? What were those key points? And learn those insights instead of sharing this popular opinion. This second strategy has the difficulty that is more less popular, but the content is more valuable. So surrounding it with the correct engagement from the interviewer and from the massaging might create some amazing engagement. And also, very importantly, is instead of focusing on the marketing, sales, startups, engineering, AI, in those topics, focus on topics that are more broadly related, like the decision making process. So that could be one idea. And finally, and maybe I should have sent this on the last slide, is maybe consider focusing on long short term content, video specifically. So instead of having the interview just as one consumes it from Spotify, no, create personalized YouTube content and transform this 10 minute into this 1 hour podcast into 10 minute, for example, daily videos. So from me, every interview, we get 3 10-minute interviews. We have two videos every week. And this can be, yes, with the voice of the person, with the lessons from the person, but also enriched with editorial content and narrative storytelling. There's much more to make, and I will only share 4 ideas. The first is audience profiling, both from comments on the niche and on the channel and on the niche. Understand what the audience aspires, values, and wants. Second, niche expansion, and in particular with time series historical data, understand where are the engagement is growing, so that we can make data-driven decisions of how to expand in terms of niche, and maybe which of those polarized niche, prioritize, or how to merge both. Third, short content growth strategy. Use a CTA, use intro, dive deep and understand how to drive engagement for the long form content, not only for the short form content. And finally, engagement deep dive. You know, or really understand what has made the existing popular videos amazing. Go into the transcripts, into the comments, into the descriptions, into everything to really deep dive on what's making content fantastic. Thank you for watching. It was a pleasure. We are Ambition. We are the product of BILLM. Either to follow up on this channel or in other channels or on other topics like fundraising, like customer analysis, customer lead analysis, customer acquisition, customer retention. We have a magnificent GitHub repo full of features and intelligence and nice levers to make data driven decisions. Goodbye.